Hello, and you're very welcome to the latest episode of the Cuppa Culture, which is a special podcast from South Tipp Arts Podcast, which we normally broadcast from South Tipp Arts Centre. We can't be there at the moment, but I'm joined on the line again this week by Helena Topin, our director.
Hi, Emer, how are you?
I'm not too bad, not too bad. Enjoying this lovely weather, I have to say.
Oh, it's glorious.
Yeah, it's fabulous. This week we are joined by the director of the Visual Artists Ireland, the VAI, and that's Noel Kelly, and he's on the other line. Hi, Noel.
Hello there.
How are you?
I'm not doing too badly. You're right about the sunshine, blue skies, looking out the window at the May bushes just starting into bloom and empty streets. It's almost idyllic.
It's a whole new world.
Yeah.
There is a sad bit to it as well, though. I mean, I have to. My desk actually overlooks I live on the lane beside the IMA, and my desk has the studios in the distance.
Oh, yeah.
When you're looking over them, you have to realize that IMA has been deployed as one of the temporary mortuaries, and it really makes the relationship with the museum such a very different one for those of us living next door, where we go for our entertainment, our engagement, our slagging each other off about our taste and whatever. Suddenly it gets a very serious sort of like serious persona. So I think it's going to be an interesting challenge for IMA moving forward. Sorry to be down a downer in the middle.
But also a challenge for your body, Noel, the VAI. You must be a really busy man at the moment. Your website is really, really busy with loads of activities going on in the online community, with people trying to produce work that can be shared with the public, even though they can't directly engage with the public physically as we speak.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an interesting challenge. I think people realize that, first of all, we can think about the way we deliver in different ways. I mean, certainly from a VAI point of view, we've always wondered what could we do, with, let's say, webinars and so on, if we had the resources. And then, we've always been held back by saying, oh God, like we'd need a huge amount of money to do that, or, we'd need somebody doing post-production editing on it. But like what has been really, really obvious to us is like the day we closed, we realized that we needed to be still there for all of our members and actually all of the visual artists across the island. So therefore, how were we going to deliver the services? So very easily, because of the infrastructure in the office, very easily we could move the telephone lines. Now they're going into Shelley, who runs the help desk. They're going into her front room into a spare phone line that she has down in Kilmessan. We are all connected with remote, with access to remote servers, which we hadn't before, because Google offer a free service to non-profits of a license to their G Suite package. So we had hoped to implement it before the end of the year. It would have taken about a month. We implemented it within about 6 hours. And so we could get up and running. And I'm not saying it was perfect at the beginning, but we're learning. And then getting the webinars and getting also our online cafes, like the visual artists cafes have been taking place around the country. We've had actually around Tipperary, we've had them in Thurles, we've had 20 and 30 artists turning up. So what we wanted to do was create the same atmosphere, except make it an online experience, and also being able to focus in on going into artists. Some artists have their studios at home, so therefore they can bring us into their studios, or some artists, basically we've been at their kitchen table with them. So it'd be like, 50 people are attending these events. And it's like basically we gather for a cup of coffee. Of course, we're really cheap. You have to bring your own coffee. But the only good thing about that is you guarantee a coffee that you'll actually like, rather than what we serve in the office. And we get a chance then to hear, what's happening with artists. We also are bringing in some people from institutions that you'll never get them to turn up because they're so busy, but they have 15 minutes to give us online. So we've had Nora Hickey on from the CCI in Paris talking about the residency, and we've had Annie Fletcher talking about her first year in IMA. This week we'll have next week we're going to have who's coming up next week? My God, Benji de Burka, Benjamin de Burka is coming up talking about what he's up to at the moment. Aoife Tunney's coming in from the Creative Europe desk. So like it's a real sort of like, you know, we're all here, we're all having a cup of tea. There's no big PowerPoint presentations. It's all much more sort of, you know, we're all equal and we're all having a chat. And it's going really well, you know. I mean, we're getting good feedback. And now we're just frightened, you know, that the technology will stand up to it. But the great thing is, and I've been talking a lot over the last days with the Arts Council and all sorts of bodies. And we've been saying to them, actually, you know what, we're going to keep doing this. Once we find what this new reality that we're going to enter, when we come, you know, whenever we either transition out of this or, you know, whatever way we come out of this, we're going to keep this going. So we've decided that certainly with the online cafes, we would certainly try and do one a month after this. We're doing one a week at the moment. And same with the webinars. So for example, this afternoon we have a webinar, which is Joanne Laws, who is the editor of the Visual Artist News Sheet, writing about your work. So it's really the kind of like top 10 tips of, you know, how to write and, you know, clearly, you know, sort of avoiding all the sort of like fantastic pitfalls of the over pseudo academic text that we think is art language, when in fact we all know very few people understand it, but we hate to admit it. So and then next week we have a curator who we've been working with. He was based in New York. He ran a program called Nurture Art, which was really interesting, grassroots level, and a space in Brooklyn. And he's now moved to Zurich to take up kind of an amazingly sort of sounding job. And he's the artistic curator, director, head honcho for the UBS Bank collection. So he's joining us for a webinar next week, and that's going to be on the top 10 or the do's and don'ts of a studio visit. So, you know, the kind of like, you know, don't try and talk about your work, explain your work, bring the curator on the journey. You know, don't go through your CV, get your CV up online, get the curator, you know, all those sort of silly things that, you know, we all know in the back of our head, but we're so worried when the curator decides that he wants to do, or they want to do a studio visit, that we panic, we forget, and then we get in a total tizzy, and then we sort of fall over our words, and then at the end of it, the curator goes out the door, and you're like, oh, sugar.
And I think, well, Noel, there's for a lot of artists, it's a case of so difficult to get a curator to visit. Generally, unless depending on your I suppose your standing and where you're at in your career, but it can often be quite difficult to get the visits to happen. So there's a lot more pressure. Maybe you feel there's a lot of pressure on, and the common sense sometimes goes out the window. So the fact that it sounds so obvious, that kind of a phrase of like, explain your work and don't bombard your CV and don't just repeat yourself.
Yeah.
But those are kind of things that having those bullet points in your head, perhaps just before a visit, might just kind of relax you and kind of just stay in your mind, so that you don't just...
Yeah, and having it sort of given conversationally rather than dictated to you. Do not do this. You know, it's kind of like, you know, hearing from a curator their real life experience. But I mean, picking up on the thing about difficult getting curators visits, you know, I mean, it's one of the things that, and we've talked a lot to not only the local authorities, but, you know, we've talked to you, Helena, about it as well. I mean, we talked to the Arts Council. That I mean, one of the things that we have very much our focus on for, you know, certainly our program for the last, let's say, 2 years, and certainly stretching in when we're looking. I mean, we you know, we're not sort of like those amazing places that sort of, oh my God, the thematic that we have now for the next 18 months is, you know, how to sort out your ingrown toenails. But we are all about sort of like creating job opportunities, recognizing job opportunities, and also how to maintain creativity. They're the three, they're the kind of strands that we've been, semi-focused on. So getting curator visits, we have the speed curating that happens on a national basis, but we're also bringing to the physical cafes, a number of curators to basically introduce themselves and talk about how they work. And, as you can imagine, the usual, you can almost sort of just, have a competition of how many seconds before the question is asked of how do I get a show with you? Like we had Annie Fletcher on yesterday, and we were talking about the first 100 days, and we ended up, and we were going into areas of, what types of exhibitions she's interested in. And then the question was, how do I get a show with you, Annie? And she was quite, there she was, and she was quite prepared to talk about it.
Yeah.
So, when we're bringing curators out into the local areas, it's worth sort of making sure that those events are on, because it's your chance to actually meet them and share a cup of tea with them and ask them these questions. And also we do bring in a large number from abroad during the year. So what we have is Visual Artists Ireland members. When they join, they actually get a place on our website that they can build a profile. And in that profile, they can put in, a CV. They can talk about their work a bit. They can also have a gallery. And when curators approach us, or if we are bringing curators in, not only from abroad, but if we're bringing curators into any events, we send them to the area of the website that has these profiles, so that they can go down through it. They can look through the galleries, they can read some of the statements, and they can then decide who they think fits within the programs that they are putting together. So it kind of short circuits things a little bit, because we were part of the Turner Prize when it was in Derry, and we brought in a large number of curators as part of that, from as far afield as Zimbabwe and India and so on. But when you're traipsing around, let's say you have 15 curators traipsing around, and 15 curators turns up in your studio, you're kind of there, I'm not a clown, it's not entertain me time, and you've just dozed off, whereas you're really interested. So how am I supposed to cope with this? So now we're kind of like streaming it. And then recently we had an approach from curators dealing on a very, very particular theme. So we just let members know, like we sent out to the membership and said, if you are working within this theme, can you let us know? And all they had to do was send us their name and a link to their profile on our website. And we then sent that on to the people who were doing the research, and they set up a number of studio visits. And also, because we also have, although we don't, we're not focused on organizations, we do have organizational membership. So therefore, they were able to look at some of the studio programs as well, and they were able to arrange visits with them. So, we try and sort of like raise as much as well as supporting artists. We're also trying to raise as much awareness of the wide range of artistic practice that's across the country, both north and south.
Yeah, and I think as well, like say a lot of the work, especially the VAI, the VAI cafes online now, and a lot of that stuff is another resource for artists. But I think it'd be interesting to hear from you what kind of, appeals or queries you've been getting from the arts community at this time as to what they feel, what are they afraid of, or what are they lacking, or what questions are they asking VAI, or what supports are they looking to you and to other bodies for at the moment?
Yeah. Okay. So you did say this was 24 hours long, didn't you?
Yeah.
Top 3, Noel.
Emer, we should tell the audience that you did say that you felt it wouldn't have a problem sort of to talk about. Now, there's quite a few things. The first thing I would say is that people are obviously concerned about lost income.
Yeah.
And actually, can I just preface this just a wee bit? Apart from the individual concerns of visual artists, there has been a lot of contact from visual artists to say that they recognize that they are members of the society, and our society is going through the most extraordinary challenges. So it's really, it's very, interesting, also very humbling to hear this, that it's the first focus for many is not, oh my God, I'm a visual artist, I'm in trouble. It's actually, we're all in trouble. And that message has come clearly from a lot of members. Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, we're focused on their professional life and their professional careers. So a lot of the queries we come through is what supports are available to me, or people may have personal circumstance that they would ask, where do they go to for the advice? Because we can deal with a certain amount, like in terms of the professional life, but as you know yourself, we all have other things impacting on our day-to-day existence. So therefore, where do they go for that? So in terms of the individual artist, we have been guiding them very much to the supports that are available through the COVID-19 emergency supports that are coming through from the Department of Social Welfare. There are a number of supports that are available to artists there. It's not just one. The job seekers allowance for the professional artists is something that people are already on. Then there is the COVID-19 special, €350 per week with a one-page application. We are getting, in the beginning, we were just getting people confused as to what this is. So we have spent a huge amount of time backwards and forwards with the government and with the Arts Council, clarifying, synthesizing the information, and then really putting it out through the website and through social media. And also I have like a regular email that goes directly to the members. So, we've been trying to get the message out through as many channels as possible and directing them. And I find myself quoting the Taoiseach, and that is that we are strongly recommending that people go to the official sites for their information. Do not rely on social media. Do not rely on your best friend. Do not rely on newspaper or media articles, which may look like they're fact, but some of them may in fact be opinion pieces. We're saying go directly to the departmental websites or the Arts Council, or even our own, which is visualartists.ie. And on the front page of ours, there's a big link which brings you to all the different supports. And then the other thing, obviously, is that artists, what are the jobs and opportunities that are still available? Because it's not that everyone wants to, go instantly onto the dole. People want to be working, so therefore, working on their practice, I should say. So where they have the ability to sort of take time, make applications, we are prioritizing getting the jobs and opportunities out, and the e-bulletin in the normal format, which would be exhibitions and events, in one edition, and then jobs and opportunities in another. We've just during the crisis, we've actually amalgamated them because, believe it or not, exhibitions and events has diminished. Yes. Except for a large number of online events. So we are advertising them, but the jobs are not.
Noel, we're running up against the clock now at this point. Can I just ask you one final question? And that's just from the way you've been talking, it seems like this is kind of almost an opportunity to kind of unify the arts community in a bigger way than maybe, or people to engage with each other more than before. Maybe somebody mightn't be able to get to one of the cafes physically, but they could in an online sense. Like you mentioned, curators that are really busy have 15 minutes to share online where they may not be able to make it to the actual event if it were happening normally. So is it a good opportunity?
Yeah, it is. I mean, the way I see it is, what we've done is we've just opened up the toolbox a bit more, that the one thing we always know about not only our members, but people we engage with on a daily basis, for the most part, they're hugely resourceful. And, there is nobody that can say that, they aren't trying to take advantage of as many opportunities as they can on a daily basis. I think that what we're going through at the moment with the online events and things, it's just making it a wee bit easier, and it'll be another tool. And the other thing that's interesting about it is it's actually quite, it's quite immediate, in terms of you are there, people are, you're there in front, but actually people find it easier to get to. Like, and we are also like on Wednesdays, we run, like we have a help desk. So you can, if you phone the help desk, the helpline is working, and our phones from Belfast and Dublin are all redirected. So if anyone wants to call the help desk, it's a Dublin number. So it's 016729488. But as well as the help desk, we do that by email, and we do it through the website. But now we are able to do it also through the media, online, like with Zoom. So we have a weekly one. And what has been interesting is, like, we've been getting people from as far away as, the West Cork, Donegal, etc. People who, whilst we do work in those areas, they wouldn't have they wouldn't immediately be able to access them. So now they are. And we're getting really good feedback on that as well.
That sounds fantastic, actually. Yeah, it sounds really positive.
Well, it's really horrible to try and sound too positive, like during
I know.
It's going through so much, because I'll be honest with you, our hearts have to go out to the people who are suffering through this. And, let's not be sort of, I don't want to come across as happy clappy, we're doing amazing things, because actually, you know what? We really wish we could be doing more.
Like everybody.
Like everyone else.
But I don't know. I mean, just very quickly, it is also worth saying, like when we're talking about the official channels, for people who may have issues or, may have questions about some of the government schemes, because I know that there's a lot of, in the visual arts, it's actually not so much, but across other art forms, there have been a lot of questions. Our own work with the department has been very much a very active two-way thing to sort of bring as many of the scenarios to the department, so that they can then sort of, find how, if there is a gap in the existing systems, or if there isn't a gap, how the person who's having an issue can be guided through. And they've created an email address which anybody can make contact with them through. And having said that, I am now going through a page trying to find the email address.
Forward it on to me. We can put it in the notes, Noel.
Wait, now 2 secs. I have it here. Yeah, sorry. Here we go. So it's very easy. It's arts unit, so arts plural unit at chg.gov.ie. And if people are having an issue, whether or not it's with social welfare or with accessing, any of the government supports, if they email that address and include a telephone number, the arts unit of the department will try to respond as soon as possible by email or phone.
We could probably stay here talking all day about all this stuff.
Yeah. 24 hours.
Noel, you're an absolute fountain of information. And thanks so much for taking some time out to have a chat with us this morning.
Well, you see, the great thing about this is I'll leave you wanting more.
And Noel, as well, also in the light of all this, make sure that I hope you're getting some downtime, and thanks for all your help from the whole community.
Yeah.
My downtime is very important. And if I give one last bit of advice to anybody, and artists, but also to people like myself, who's normally a faceless bureaucrat administrator, I would say, remember, walk away from your computer in the same way that you walk away when you leave the office, because if you don't take time away from it, we'll start having even more mental health issues within the sector.
So true. Thanks a million, both of you, actually, for taking the time out to talk to me again this morning. And we will be back next week with another episode of the Cuppa Culture from the South Tipp Arts Podcast. Thanks a lot, and bye-bye.